Good morning.
أود أن أبدأ بسؤالي للسيد
عربي چه
دكتور
لکات
سعدي
انگلیزی؟
حول
عربی اما دکین انگلیزی؟
المرور
About the
عقدين من الزمن
2 decades, the passage of two
على سقوط
decades after
الدكتاتورية.
the fall of dictatorship
على سقوط الصمت
and the idol and the fall and still Iraq
لم تخرج
has not gone
من
out
أزمتها
of its crisis or from the bottleneck.
ما هو
What is
دكتور سعد
Dr. Saadi? First, I welcome you and
حدثنا حول
tell us
المرور عقدين من
about the
الزمن
passage of 2 decades
والأزمات
and
لا زالت
the crises
تواجهنا
are still facing Iraq. Thank you. In the name of God, Bismillah, dear ladies and gentlemen, with respect, my due respect to the titles, and thank you for this generous invitation from the KRG and from the center. Honestly, this question is almost, I can say, it is the era's question. Before the fall of the dictatorship, first we have to disintegrate the Iraqi political scene at the end of the dictatorship and the post-dictatorship, and to know what is the nature of the political scene in Iraq. I'm not defending the current system, has pros and cons, but since 80, 1980 until until now, Iraq has died. I mean, the industry has died completely. Iraqi-Iran war, 80 years, and the system, the regime took another system for another war in Kuwait with coalition forces, and then when the West felt that Saddam is still there, invented the food for oil and the wrong besiege and million of children and the wrong sanctions that was imposed that millions of children died and the regime stayed, and the other regime apart from the KRG honestly, I mean honestly for history, the KRG got an opportunity in 91, has almost become semi-independent from the central government, and also the strategic vision in KRG, the vision of Mr. Masoud Bazani and all the colleagues in KRG, they had really a vision for building. I say vision, not the strategy, because the vision is before the strategy. And after 2003, your question that whether Iraq, after this filthy dictatorship, have they benefited from the political change, like transformation from a chauvinist regime to a democratic regime? No, I say no. In principle, I say no. I have not benefited. Why no? Because the issue of the democracy is not easy to bring in a democracy from behind the borders. Some may say that the political regime, the dictator, had governed. But Iraq, I mean, for 7,000 years, since Sumerians until now, have had is an authoritative regime always. The minorities are neglected. After 2003, there was an opportunity. Again, I say, okay, leave KRG alone because it has some kind of independence, and they have invested in this, and we know this building now and this prosperity have not come out of the blue and have not come from behind the borders, but the Iraqi problem after 2003, it's a regional, international and local problem. Regional and international, I tell you, I give you the example of the change, the same copy paste in Filipino in 46. It's the same thing happened in 2000. The same thing, same copy paste. Ruling council in Filipino, and then Filipino in Germany also. Then even in Germany this was implemented. But the difference between the two, Filipino at that time, when the new system started, they didn't let Americans and the Philippines, they didn't let establish more than two parties, a ruling party and a shadow party. But the problem in Iraq, in particular in south and center, is the excessiveness of the political parties. Even shops, they are shops. I call them shops. Not even this scattering of the political components reflected on the political system. Because leadership is two types. A type is made and a type is born. But until now, there isn't an Iraqi born leader in the center. But in Iraq they have historical leader. I don't want to name so that okay. But the Barzanis have this leadership, but in the south and center, we miss this. We don't have a national leader. We have leaders of blocks and sects, etc. But there is no social relations because there is a kind of what he calls a trenching. Everybody is getting ready for the other, and the three big or four blocks until now are not trusted. They've lost their trust. There isn't any common ground for these political blocks. And you may ask about the countries in the world. They have sects and nations, like Switzerland, for example, or Belgium, or India, or even the United States, the US. Why only us? We have not understood. I say it's lack of vision, because there's no vision. All the strategic decisions today are stemmed from vision, because before building there should be vision. And who's responsible of the vision? Is the political cadre, the first line of the political cadre. They also and then the second lines they will implement. So there are many countries in the world they've been through what we've been through, but they benefited. Like in '71, UAE, as Colonel Gaddafi in a video says, tells Libyans, tells them UAE 71 was a place of donkeys. This is verbally from Libya. That was UAE in the 70s. Like in 71, UAE didn't have any stadiums for organizing Gulf Championship. But today you see UAE. So he confessed that he can't build UAE if they do not depend on the giant countries, and that's why the US after Britain withdrew from 71 withdrew in 75. After that, the Gulf countries were established on a Western basis. You notice that Dubai has a role in the international politics. Dr. Saad, thank you. First, there is a political chaos, excessiveness of the political parties in Iraq, and secondly, there isn't a strategic vision for the political elite in Iraq. These are the two main reasons that led to that Iraq have not gone out from the bottleneck. So that you do not misunderstand me, maybe you may ask me, the politician may ask me, that we received a destroyed country. Yeah, Iraq was destroyed. But after 2003, this big destruction was given a lot of money. A financial ability was great. Like in the 50s, Singapore was an isle in the Pacific Ocean. Even the Malaysians left them. But after 30 years, you see Singapore now. Singapore is the second biggest income in the world. Let's now talk about Dr. Adel Bakawan. You're welcome, Doctor, to the stage. You have a book. The Impossible Country of Iraq. This is your book, title of your book, The Impossible State of Iraq. And after 2003, after 2 decades, Iraq still have not gone out from this circle of the impossible state. What are the challenges that do not let Iraq to get out of this impossible state circle. Thank you, Mr. Doctor. In the beginning, I do apologize. I've just arrived a few hours ago from Paris. I mean, I'm jet lagged, and my ear, I can't. I'm very happy to see my close friends, Mr. Bakhtiar, Bakhtiar. I haven't seen him. Otherwise, I would have gone to them directly to go salute them and to say hello to them. The impossible state of Iraq. This was first book, and the second book, it's Iraq after 100 years of bankruptcy. This is my title of my second book, 100 years after 100 years of bankruptcy. Mr. Bashir told me that politics. You said that politics come to me, but they don't listen to me. I hope it was like that. Anything I say, in fact, will be translated to many other languages, but then in the past I was very free to talk, and now to say a couple of words, I have to interpret it in 50 ways, from Basra to Zakhwa. Now, what happened to Iraq? 2 decades after the fall of the dictator. In Iraq we say, but in France we say 2 decades of the occupation. Expressions are clear for you and have their connotations. The fall of dictator or the occupation of Iraq. These 2 expressions. Jacques Chirac was a great leader of France in the 2000, if I'm not mistaken, was in 2002. Said something very nice that can be implemented in Iraq. He said, in French, notre maison, our house burns, our house burns, but we are looking the other side. So our home is burning, and we're looking to the other side. In fact, to be honest, Iraq is a burning country. It's a country which is burning politically, socially, security and stability-wise, economy-wise. Leave alone economy. I mean, it's completely burning, and we are now stepping into into the process of this practical disintegration. This decade, this social contract, political contract that Iraq was made on after 2003. Now it's over. This contract, it's over in practice. I was supposed to discuss with Haji Hadi Amri. I was supposed to discuss, but unfortunately he was not able to come. Now delegations negotiate so that tomorrow can come. If tomorrow can come, I will again discuss all this over with him. This contract between Shia and the Kurds, this contract, and it's written, drafted, so that to build on the new Iraq on this contract. Unfortunately, in 2003, this contract, all the indicators tell us that this contract in practice is over and it is disintegrated. It's the second point. This contract has not, or we haven't been able, or they haven't been able, the Iraqis, Kurds, Sunnis, Muslims, Christians have not been able to reflect this in a sacred book, if I may say, that not to be touched under any circumstances, this book. On the contrary, this contract that new Iraq was built on, it was dealt with only through the force relationships, les rapports de force, the force relationship. As in a simple language, let me tell you, in Iraq, you don't have any red lines to say under any circumstances this red line should not be trespassed. For example, in France, you have the constitution. No leader, no social group, no parties, no no one. You can do anything, but you will never able to trespass the constitution, because this is the red line and everything else stops. uh, our tragedy, our disaster in Iraq, that Iraqis in general, that this contract that the Sunni Shia scholars that built the new Iraq on, it was only dealt with based on the power factors. Today, I am, as a Kurd, I am strong. I want to use the contract in my interest. Tomorrow, if I am a Shia and I am strong, then I will exploit the contract for my, and I will move it towards my direction. Look at the federal court have done anything to Kurds, that every now Kurdish family, they sleep at night, and tomorrow they wait for another ruling from the federal court or constitution. More than 65 articles and the constitutions are neglected now. Another point, after that I will stop. We have an elite in Iraq. Rarely have I seen any uh, people not to care about Iraq as the Iraqis, really. I haven't seen any. I can talk about terrorism. I can talk about the economic failure, but leave alone all this. There is something very simple. I think Mr. Zarian, you know, Mr. Zarian, in a round table, you discussed this. It's about demography and climate change. Look at it. In 2003, when Iraq was being occupied by the Americans, when the dictator is falling, Iraqis were 24 millions at that time. Today, into 2023, we're 42 millions. According to the data that we have in the French Center for Iraqi Studies in 2050, according to all the probabilities, we will be 80 millions. We'll reach 80 million Iraqis. This is first point. Second one, out of these 80 million Iraqis, according to the data that available for us, KG, the birth rate is between 1.7 to 2.6. But the birth rate in south of Iraq is 4.7. You see? So a woman in Iraq gives birth to 4.7, and in 2050 we will be 80 million. This is very important. Look at it. These 2 points. And the third point, the climate change, again, according to the data available to us in KRG, have it's not very dramatic, but in the south, this issue is very dramatic. That climate change has affected in a way that Iraq every year loses 100 kilometer fertile agricultural land. According to these hypotheses that we work on, that is that in 2050, Iraq will lose around 47 of agri land, and the price of land in the international market will fall completely, dramatically, will fall dramatically. And in this way, neither oil income can feed the Iraqis, nor agriculture can feed the Iraqis. That's why the Iraqis will face the biggest disaster in the history, even bigger than Daesh, worse than Daesh, because you have 80 million people, you will not be able to. because every year you lose 100 square kilometer of agri-land, and your oil has fallen and your population is 80. I will stop, I promise, after that. Then there is a possibility of a big internal war in Iraq that unfortunately the Iraqi elite are not prepared for, because these 80 million that we will have in Iraq, I can say 85% of them are in the south of Iraq, are in the southern governorates from Basra to Baghdad. In these areas, around 50% of agri-land is already lost and started now. We have lakes ended, finished. Even traces have disappeared of some lakes in the south. So there will be a great immigration. Not 1,000, no 2,000, no 2 million, no 3 million. At least this immigration estimated around about 20, 25 million people will immigrate from the south of Iraq to the north, to Kurdistan. Here, I will stop here. So that Iraq, to prevent this, UN tell us Iraq today, not tomorrow, yesterday, not today, should start to allocate 220 billion dollars to prevent this disaster. This will be my last sentence. I promise. I promise. This will be my the elite that have ruled Iraq since 2003 until today, unfortunately, have not had any strategy. There isn't any strategy to protect Iraq from this dilemma. Unfortunately, we have not been able to, after the fall of Iraq, the Iraq that we were dreaming of, to rebuild it. Thank you. So there are many points, Dr. Saadi. Dr. Adel talked about many points, which is about points, external points.
Related to, he mentioned that Iraq to the house is burning, and the house owners they're looking to another direction. Iraq is sort out burning, sort out. There are lots of, and the political family in Iraq they are looking to something else. They are not taking care about the right issues. So the political, let's say, the politicians they are not working in the proper way. If I'm correct in expression, let's be objective sort of. Doctor, the gentleman he talked about the politicians. What is in Iraq? Unfortunately, being capable is something like a curse in Iraq. The problem of the problem of the Iraqi governments. It's the actually the problem of Iraqi people is that that there are no, let's say, capable people in the right place. In everywhere in the world, even the U.S. president, he cannot do something without going back to professional, capable people. Even our religion, the God sent the message to Muhammad, and he told him to consult with his friends and followers. So the problem with Iraq, as I said, is there is no vision in Iraq. The Turks in 1980, they told Iraq, please be aware, we are going to start in Anadolu. We are going to work on it. We are going to make and build a network of dams. You know that Iraqi citizens, they have the most highest share of water in the Middle East. Iraq just negotiating when he needs that. So there is no strategy. Yes. So when I need something, I will go to do the negotiation. At that time, they will push me. So when I have, for example, floods, I'm going to go and talk about. I'm going to connect between the the economic file with the water resources. So we know the biggest problem in Iraq. We don't have only Euphrates and Tigris, of course, of course. And we have nearby 19 to 30, let's say, small rivers. So and Iraq, it's already a big pool of water, but we are not using it. We don't. We are not recycling the water from the grey water. Just go. We are close to the Gulf, and so the billions of in Iraq. So so why the why Iraq they don't have red lines? For example, they just withdraw from the they just withdraw from government suddenly, and why that happened? And they just gave the political, let's say, process to someone else. This is my personal, by the way. This is my personal opinion. It's not. That was the decision from the Muqtada Sadr, and he just gave the opportunity to the others. Frankly speaking, I am not in a position to answer this question. Sort out. Even this is related to the head of the, let's say, Sadrist movement leader, which is the Muqtada Sadr. The problem of actually is so related to the political, the nature of the political system in Iraq. We need to look to this. Can you just mention what are the solutions? Can you just the best solution for Iraq is I'm going to say it to change the political system from the federal system to confederal system. One system, two countries. So the region is going to be connected to Baghdad in security and political, let's say, relations. Look to the United States. Same thing for later on. So they said that you have 30 flags. That when there was confederal system in United States, so they they change their political system, and so they said, so for example, the political system in Arizona and Florida, they start to have this distribution for the, let's say, for the distribution, for example, for the their representative in the Senates. So now they shift to a federal state. So what's going wrong? We are going to why we should not shift to the confederal system. We are just losing our time. So we have just 2 minutes to do Dr. Adel. So Mr. Saadi says that maybe having a federal system is that as a solution. What do you think, sir? What's your opinion about this? You have just 1 minute to talk about this. So, how we can solve the situation in Iraq? So, having a confederal system, a confederal system. Yes, Iraqis can reach an agreement. Among them. They should know that the international community is really tired with Iraq. Every single day I met diplomats in Europe in different areas. They are really tired with Iraqi and Iraq. Even Turkey and Iran, even the Gulf countries. So Saudi Arabia, they are just asking them, even people from the Emirates. So please, the the Iraqis, they need. There will be no Christ comes to them and save them. They can solve their sins instead of having conference in Baghdad and to invite Turkey, Qatar, and Iran, and they sit down with them. It's time to them to sit down in a logical way. Unfortunately, till this moment, Iraqis, they are not talking with each other, and they are asking other peoples to help them to do that. Thank you very much. So we are in a path. We need to find a common language between Iraqis to have discussions. The talks are the start of everything, and of course, this finding this language will not come down from the heaven to us. We need to find it, and they need to work on it. Thank you very much, Dr. Saadi and Dr. Adel, for your answers, and thank you for your listening, and thank you very much.